It's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. We begin in Nigeria, where the Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, says President Muhammadu Buhari won't resign over security challenges as being canvassed by some Nigerians. According to him, the president has the mandate of Nigerians to rule until 2023, and those calling for his resignation and that of the service chiefs should be mindful of their comments. He says the government will continue to provide the military and all security agencies the wherewithal to perform their duties, and that the president believes in their ability to tackle insecurity.
The country is facing security challenges, and challenges are being tackled head-on. However, there have been some red areas in recent times, including those calling for the resignation of Mr. President. I want to advise all commentators, especially political and news leaders, to be very careful at this time not to aggravate the situation with incendiary comments that cast on our religious, ethnic, and political fault lines to further divide the country. The kind of comments that have been attributed to some leaders recently, especially religious leaders, are incendiary and reckless.
Well, that's a call there from the Minister for everybody to exercise their freedom of speech with a sense of responsibility and not make unnecessarily inflammatory comments. I mean, but asking the president to resign, I don't think is inflammatory. It's just your request, which can be ignored, as it clearly will be. So.
Well, I think also that the various groups, including the Senate Minority Leader, who on January 19 called for the resignation of the president, or Christian Association of Nigeria, or the People's Democratic Party, I don't think that any of these persons or groups actually believe that the president will resign based on their say-so. I guess it was only their own way of expressing their concern or their displeasure with the performance, of the government since 2015. And you recall that these comments were made within the context of how the administration has so far managed the security situation in the country. And I agree with you. I mean, that doesn't amount to making incendiary comments because people can express an opinion. And, the president is not under any pressure to listen to you. But he has given that clarification that the president has a mandate till 2023, which we all know, and that he intends to, execute that mandate till his very last day in office. He also referred to the calls for the sack of the service chiefs, and he used the opportunity, which was a meeting with editors, to reiterate the position that had been expressed earlier by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, who had said that, President Buhari was not going to sack any of the service chiefs, at least not now. Because at this time, we need all hands on deck, according to him. And the minister again said the same thing. So on the question of the service chiefs, we at least have heard from two principal members of the government what the position of the government is on that matter. However, I think the bigger part of the commentary from the Minister of Information has to do with his reference to fake news, the circulation of fake news, and government's determination to still ensure that the social media is regulated or reorganized in a particular manner. And he made it clear that there is a plan to have a conference, an international conference, involving social media users, tech giants, and other journalists and other stakeholders to look at how there can be some form of regulation for social media in Nigeria, which he says is likely responsible for fake news that could result in the destabilization of the country and that can put every effort of government at risk. And he cited quite a number, of these fake news in his view, including the fact that the president was said to be planning to go to the UK for 20 days, the alleged attack on the Minister of Transportation somewhere in Kaduna, the report that there were some Boko Haram people who were apprehended in Abia State. So he cited quite a number of examples. But whatever concern the minister may express, I think what is more important is to ensure that in having a conversation around the social media, nothing is done, as Nigerians stated, when there was a proposal to push a social media bill through Parliament, that nothing should be done to abridge the right of every Nigerian to the freedom of expression. Because the ability of the people to express themselves freely and without any kind of intimidation is at the heart of the democratic project itself.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll echo what you said. I don't think expressing one's opinion that one believes that the president should resign is inflammatory, as was said. But to move on to this idea of a conference with stakeholders for social media regulation, I think that's quite a progressive response from the government, especially considering what we've had before on this particular conversation is one about a social media bill coming straight from government that did not necessarily look like one that was still going to allow the freedom of speech and expression for all citizens. So I think when you involve stakeholders, tech giants, social media networks, users, etc., in the conversation, it's definitely progressive and it can make a difference because everyone can agree that some regulation does need to be made. Fake news is of serious harm to national security all around the world in different countries. So I think that's quite a progressive response.
One more thing that the minister addressed, which we can take as good news, is that at last, he disclosed that the diversion of flights from the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos will not happen again because they finally succeeded in calibrating the ILS-3, right? The Instrument Landing System 3, which is supposed to be an upgrade. You know that because of the failure of that and the failure of the authorities to install that properly, flights had to be diverted recently for weather reasons to Accra and to Abuja, subjecting Nigerian travelers and others to a lot of hardship. So we hope that now that that has been done, that this ILS-3 will work and that we will not hear any further stories within the next month or 2 weeks that, maybe a goat tampered with some instruments at the Murtala Mohammed Airport.
I don't take that as good news when somebody is sanctioned for that monumental national embarrassment. Honestly. It's not enough to say, oh, the situation has been resolved. No.
Someone does need
Somebody
to be
has
sanctioned.
to, yes, absolutely. As part of the international campaign to put pressure on the Nigerian government to negotiate the release of Leah Sharibu, a group of Nigerians, including her mother, have staged a protest at the premises of the Nigerian High Commission in the United Kingdom, calling on the British government to intensify pressure on President Muhammadu Buhari to secure the release of the remaining Dapchi schoolgirl. A petition with 12,132 signatures was also submitted to a member of the UK Parliament, Baroness Caroline Cox, by Leah's mother, Mrs. Rebecca Sharibu, calling on the federal government to secure her daughter's freedom. The spokesperson for the Sharibu family and senior lecturer at the Department of Political Science at the University of Jos, Dr. Gloria Samdi Polju, who released the details of the protest, said the protesters were led by the Executive Director of International Organizations for Peace and Social Justice, Pastor Ayo Adedoyin. Now, this is a petition that had over 12,000 signatures, but if it was made open to everybody, if everybody was aware of it, it would have had millions of signatures, tens of millions. The whole country is united in wanting the release of Leah Sharibu. Yeah. It's heartbreaking that she's still in captivity after 2 years, and her mother is incredibly courageous, and her father, to continue to speak out and highlight their daughter's situation. I mean, it's just devastating. Really All efforts have to be made to have her released.
You cannot be more correct, and we should commend Pastor Adedoyin, the Leah Sharibu Foundation, Baroness Cox, and all the others who are supporting this initiative to get our release. But we'll take a short commercial break now. When we return, the Morning Show will continue here on Arise News. Welcome back to the Morning Show here on the Arise News channel. Now joining us is Rotus Odiri with Business News. Rotus, what's happening in the business sector?
Yeah, well, what we're talking about today is TGIF, yes? Have you said TGIF today?
You have, right? TGIF.
Yeah, right. Thank God it's Friday. If you were to do a poll of the number of people who say TGIF, they're pretty much almost all employed, right? Because you've had a long week, you've worked really hard, it's Friday, now it's time for you to go and relax. The unemployed Nigerians, to them, there is no TGIF, right? Because there's a lack of opportunity and lack of jobs. The business community right now is pleading with the Bureau of Statistics to provide updated unemployment data. The last data we had said that we're at 23.1% unemployment, which translates to about 20 million Nigerians, enough to populate a number of African countries across the world as far as unemployment is concerned. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Ngige, is doing what he can. The federal government is doing what they can with the number of programs out there. However, because of the lack of data, there's a lot of speculation. He last said in May 2019 that unemployment could hit 33.5% in 2020. There's other folks saying that, you know, the lack of transparency in the data and unemployment suggests that it's probably worse than it is. Because if you think about the last time we got this data, it was in Q3 of 2018. Before then, the last unemployment data we got when it was at 18.1% was Q3 of 2017. And I believe the Statistician General, Dr. Yemi Kale, was on the morning show about a year or two ago where he was asked about, you know, what's up with the data. And he said, well, you know, there have been challenges with getting it out there. You can't plan, whether it's at public policy, N-Power, whether it's at the private sector with hiring. You cannot plan a way forward unless you can benchmark hiring with what's going on in the country. And so we badly need an update in order to see what's going on and in order to see how we can employ more people. The president talked about 100 million people being employed, right? Well, trying to lifting 100 million people lifted out of poverty. The key thing, not just to talk about, you know, what's been bad. If you look at what's been good, what's been done in the telecom sector, with how the telecom sector exploded when Obasanjo gave licenses to the operators, and it led to call centers, it led to different where you can buy phones, you can fix phones, service centers. If you think about how the telecom sector exploded, it's still the best example of job creation that we've had in Nigeria, and we need to see that again in order to improve the unemployment situation. You know, but first we need the numbers. That's the main thing, is that we please need the updated unemployment
for me,
numbers.
I would say unemployment data is really helpful in sort of predicting spikes, increases in crime. But without the data, we can all pretty much agree that we don't need data to know that the unemployment situation is dire, which is probably why there's been some reluctance in releasing the official figures. We'll probably be alarmed.
For me, the big issue is the challenge of planning without data.
Exactly.
Which is the bane, you know, in many in the development process in many African countries. And in Nigeria, it's a particularly serious challenge. On anything at all, you can't get very accurate data because it's conflicting data. You're talking about unemployment now. You know, if you're talking about the health sector or you are talking about the education sector, you are likely to find a whole set of statistics that may not give you a picture of reality. And the modern way is to plan with data, not to plan without data.
Exactly.
Now, for a very long time now, we've all been so reliant on the National Bureau of Statistics, particularly because of the way Yemi Kale, you know, has been able to provide leadership in that area. And again, that's a problem. Our institutions should not just be because somebody who is proactive is in charge. It should be because the institution itself is strong. Now, sometime last year, Yemi Kale, who is very active on Twitter, pointed out that, look, the National Bureau of Statistics cannot really gather data on unemployment because it's not properly funded. You know, that bureau gets most of its funding from foreign agencies. So it's for the Nigerian government to prioritize statistics, to prioritize data for effective planning. The third leg of it, of course, is that the economy. You have to do something about the economy. The challenge we have is not just unemployment. There's also the challenge of underemployment, which the Bureau of Statistics put at 16.1%. And cumulatively, at the end of the third quarter of 2018, we had a cumulative figure of unemployment and underemployment rising up to about 43.3%. So if we're going to have an unemployment rate of 33.5% in 2020, when you combine that with underemployment, it means that we're in serious trouble.
This is exactly why we don't know.
And in a country where the population is largely youthful, then it's a crisis, social crisis.
There's
all kinds of
systemic problems behind this as well. Like, you have to look at certain sectors, like the housing sector, the huge deficit in the housing sector, not to even add what we could do if we just employ people into real estate. There's so many sectors that just need to be tapped into, potential that is not being maximized. It's a huge problem.
And they need to be liberated. Again, if you look at what Nigeria did with the telecom sector was amazing. Nitel was stepped aside, they pushed aside Nitel, privatized it, opened it up, and it just just gave. So again, I'm really just needing the country. We've already done it before. If you can replicate what was done in telecoms with other sectors, look at what's going on with power and other real estate, other areas. Liberate it from government hands. Let the private sector take over. You will see this needed explosion in jobs that we're looking for. It's just
Thank you, Rotas. I
hopeful.
like that. There's a problem and you present a solution.
Yes.
Always
AFCFTA
helpful.
should
Thank you.
help
We'll
too.
take a short break now and we'll be back with sports headlines. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News Channel. Joining us now is the Arise Sports analyst Aaron Akirijola with Sports Stories.
All
Good
right.
morning, Aaron.
Yeah, Doctor, good morning.
Morning.
Tunde, good morning. You're looking angelic in white today. Lele, good morning. Doctor, I pass. I will pass. Okay, we've got quite some interesting things to look forward to as we actually approach the weekend. And one of them seems to be one of the biggest fights I have been looking forward to. And as a matter of fact, this is what any boxing enthusiast, any boxing purist will be looking forward to. All right, bouts that will literally shake up the heavyweight category. And we are having two undefeated people going head-to-head for the second time tomorrow in Las Vegas. Of course, the undercards will start the night off, get people all riled up before the main fight that will spill into Sunday morning Nigerian time. Talking about Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Of course, the Bronze Bomber and the Gypsy King, as they are being called. Their nicknames, of course, foul-mouthed individuals who have spoken heavily about this particular bout. And what it means is that if this bout is as entertaining as the first one was, that would mean that Anthony Joshua stands the risk of becoming a statue in the heavyweight category. Because, as a matter of fact, these are the guys everyone are paying to see right now. These are the guys that are given the excitement in the category that has been probably that has platted for quite a while right now. So looking at this and coming into this particular bout, everyone is excited and everyone is saying, we want to see more of this. And, of course, Tyson Fury has even hinted that there will be a Tyson Fury and a Wilder 3. That is if he loses. But, of course, it's in the contracts already, the clause to actually trigger a third fight. So we're looking forward to what will happen. One man will be losing his undefeated status at the end of Sunday morning. What would it be? I tip Deontay Wilder to actually come out through because he's fierce. His punches will rock the world.
He's allowed to use his right hand, which is probably the deadliest in the game.
At the moment, 41 knockouts in 41 knockouts in 43 fights. So you get to see these things. I say to yourself that Tyson Fury is a big guy. He's a big guy, 6'9", but at the end of the day, Deontay Wilder is a more experienced boxer. He's older, he's had more fights, and trust me, those knockouts will count for something. He felt it the last time out. He was floored on the canvas twice, talking about Tyson Fury in the first fight. I don't think he will want to put himself in that situation again.
Well, but Tyson Fury has been boasting that he would knock out Deontay Wilder in the second round. And that is going to beat him. And that has added to the drama, ahead of the bout in Las Vegas. Again, Deontay Wilder has been rather quiet, allowing Tyson Fury to do all the talking. Maybe he would talk with his fists when they meet. Now, the stakes are very high, and, everyone is interested about projected 2 million pay-per-view, outcome audience. Yes.
Yeah.
And then, again, but the problem is the decision that has been taken by the Nevada Athletic Commission that there will be no face-off, either before the weigh-in or after the weigh-in. Because at the press conference on Wednesday, 2 days ago, there was an almost, tidy, ugly situation when the two, fighters took themselves off and they had to be quickly separated. But some people have also said a face-off is part of boxing.
That's the beauty of it.
I mean, we saw it with Muhammad Ali, we saw it with Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson in 2002. In your opinion, doesn't that amount to removing part of the entertainment?
You and I know this. When this guys, it brings it actually heightens the anticipation and the fact that you're looking forward to these guys. These guys cannot wait to get into the ring to square out. So when you are taking those elements that gets people all pumped up, because it's easy to say, I'm going to knock you silly, and you're almost showing it, and everyone is saying, okay, let's wait, let's look forward to this fight. Those are the build-up that makes a fight quite interesting.
That's
but
the only
unfortunately,
part I enjoy, quite frankly.
because it is the least violent part of boxing.
Exactly.
Because when you get into the ring, remember, Tyson Fury the last time out had a very, very nasty gash. All right, due to the punches that Deontay Wilder, I pity Tyson Fury. I must actually say, I pity him.
You should avoid the right hand. You will be
But
safe.
he cannot do that. People have tried and have failed heavily. And I wish him all the best. Hopefully on Monday we'll be talking about this, and maybe Deontay Wilder, where I'm tipping to actually win, will actually come at tops.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Aaron.
Always a pleasure.